What's going on, guys? Today I wanted to show you something I've recently purchased. A couple of things actually. And the reason I'm doing this is because I really haven't gotten into stuff like this before. Do-it-yourself kits and whatnot as far as soldering stuff together. A lot of you may have seen the show, I think it's called Timeline or something, with the guy who plays Will and Will and Grace that's in it. It's about these people come in from the future to try to change, or to come in from the past and try to change the future to keep things from happening. I think it's called Timeline. It was on Hulu. There's on like 2 seasons of it on there. 2 seasons of it on there anyway. But in one of the episodes I was watching, there was this the guy was sitting at the desk, and he had this clock on his desk. It was like a silver bar with tubes sticking up out of it. I had no idea what it was, so I just got on to Google and I started looking up tube clock, and I came up with the Nixie tube clock, which, as some of the older folks out there in the YouTube land may have known, is the tubes that were used in the old electronic equipment back before, I guess, they had LED displays and LCD and stuff like that. They used the Nixie tubes, which has 10 numbers in it, 1 through 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. And they were used as displays for those for that equipment back in the 60s and 70s and I guess the 80s. Most of them were made in the USSR, Russia, UK, Lithuania, I guess, places like that. There are no people that make them today, as far as I know of, except for one guy who does. He does sell the big IN 18 tubes to make clocks with, which is going to cost you about $1,600. Now these clocks are pretty cool. They do have an issue with them. Every now and then you'll get, because this is like a neon tube, sometimes even fluorescent tubes will get dark spots in the tubes, and some of it will light up and the ends of it won't light up, stuff like that. But these tubes, some clocks are made so that they run through all the numbers simultaneously to keep them from doing something they called cathode poisoning, which means part of the metal number quits glowing. And there is a fix for that. You have to take it apart, and you have to put a little more power than what it's supposed to take onto it, and it's supposed to clean it up and make it bright again. I don't know. I've never actually seen anyone do it, but anyway, these clocks are sold on eBay. This one I bought in 3 pieces. I bought the AC power supply, the Arduino board, which is the board that controls the clock, and then the board itself with the tubes attached to it. That one was $139. It's the IN 14 Nixie tube clock, which has the 2 neon colon separators for the seconds. It also plays, for the alarm, the Nokia tunes from the old Nokia phones, if you remember those back in the 1990s. They do have battery backup. This one, I believe, is 12 volts, 1 amp. They don't give you a very long cord for it. It's like 2 feet long or something like that. So I went ahead and I bought an extra one for it. But this one is programmable. And I'm going to put the links where I bought these clocks too down under the description for this one. But I want to show you this clock here. It has different colored LEDs under each one of the tubes, so you can have them stay on red, blue, or green, or you can just let them go ahead and change through the cycle, with the multicolors constantly changing. But here is this one. Each one of these tubes has 10 digits in it. All of the tubes are connected to a single anode, and each digit has its own cathode, which is where the power goes in and it powers it up. You can tell that there's a little bit of glow around the numbers too. It's like a light pink, or I guess a pink or lavender color. I'm colorblind anyway, so I can't really tell you. But each one has 10 digits. And you can see the numbers go forward and backwards too whenever it does. These are the colon indicators for the seconds. And this is the minute and the hour. You can run this on 24 hours or 12 hours, however you want to do it. Even has a little remote control sensor right there. Now these things, this is the seller on eBay, by the way. He's in, I want to say Lithuania, but I don't think that's correct. Like I said, I'll put it in the description. It has a board on the bottom attached to it. That is what controls everything up on top. And each tube has an LED under it, right there. And I don't know what the LED on the bottom is for, unless it's for diagnostics. You know, sometimes different flashes mean different things, I guess. But there's the tubes. And this clock is a lot brighter than you'd think it would be. It's about, I'd say, 8 or 9 inches long, about 2 inches wide. You can see everything under it. This one did not come with a case, which is why it was so cheap. Of course, $139 isn't really cheap for some people. And it took me a while to get the money to get this one. But it is pretty cool. I mean, in the dark is when you really get to see it. I've got it set on red right now for the LEDs there. But there's a battery down underneath the bottom of here, so that if you have to change it, or if you have to unplug it and move it, you don't lose your time. Now I'm going to show you what happens whenever you first plug this thing in when you get it. It's not going to mess up the time or anything on it, but you'll see what the numbers will do in the beginning. Let me turn this thing down. There we go. Now I'm going to show you what this thing does when you unplug it for the first time. Or you plug it in for the first time, sorry. And this one doesn't roll through the numbers like most of them do. This is just a plain old Nixie clock. But it prevents the cathode poisoning. You'll see what I mean when it starts rolling through all the digits here. And you'll hear the alarm on it too. Here's the LEDs on it. And that's what it does to prevent cathode poisoning. And that's the alarm. So that's pretty much what it does when you plug it in. It'll start playing that little tune, that little Nokia tune on there. And it goes automatically back to the time. I've got it set on 24-hour time right now. It also has a date, and it has, I think, a countdown timer if I'm not mistaken. But I don't use either one of those on there. It has a place here where you can actually connect it to USB and update it whenever new software comes out from the guy that made this thing. So this one's pretty cool. You don't really see the numbers from the back because there's a metal plate in there that covers it. But there's the LEDs, there's the where you set it, and there's the, I don't know what that is exactly. That might be for temperature or DPS. And that right there is where you connect to do a diagnostic. So yeah, this thing's pretty cool. These tubes are, I'm guessing, 2.5 inches high. And I did buy some spare ones just in case something happens with these. I've watched the videos about these on YouTube, and they've said that some people have had these for like 10 years and never had an issue with them. But like I said, these numbers, they don't roll. They just stay like this all the time. This one doesn't do anything special like the other ones do. So yeah, that's a pretty cool clock. And you can buy kits where you can just buy the kits and buy the tube separately, which is literally half the cost of versus buying one that's already put together with the case and everything. If you buy one that's already put together with tubes and everything in it, you would pay between $90 and $120 for it. If they give you the option for a case, it's another $15 to $25. Sometimes you get a power supply with it, sometimes you don't. Power supplies you can get for $5-10 on there. It depends on what brand you get. If you get something cheap, or If you get something as a name brand, you're going to pay a lot more for it. But there you have it. Here's another little LED clock that I tried to put together myself with a do-it-yourself kit. Didn't work out too well. This one actually has red, green, and blue LEDs in it. There's 4 different numbers there. 1 3/8. I did try to put this together myself and it didn't come out well. Some of the numbers lit up and some didn't. So the next one I'm going to show you is called a Numitron clock. And basically what those tubes are just a light bulb with multiple filaments in it. And this is what it does. I'm going to show you right here. It's showing the date right now. It'll show the date, the time, and the temperature. And then the time comes back up on here, like this. These tubes are about 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches in length. I mean, you can see my finger here. Obviously, they're not that big. They looked a lot bigger when I looked at them on eBay. This one was 137, I believe. And it came with a clear case on it. So, it also came with this little remote control here you can use to adjust it, but it has LEDs on it as well. And this here's the menu you go through to set everything. You push it again. If you hit this little OK button in the middle, it goes back to your time. Let me see. There's the LEDs. The LED brightness you can change. There's 5 different brightnesses. You can change color. Purple, like a bluish green. And I'm not really sure exactly how to turn the bottom ones on, but there's also 3 LEDs on the bottom too. Right there between those 2 green dots on each one. It's really pretty when it lights up though. Let me see here. There we go. Oh, you see the red LEDs now? Yeah. This isn't easy to do with one hand. The bottom ones will also change color. So not only do you have the top that lights up, you also have the bottom that lights up. Right there. And again, the tubes, I'm touching the top there. I think they're about 1.5 inches long. Maybe almost a 1/2 inch wide. Like I said, these are just like regular light bulbs. But they have 7 different filaments in it. And it pretty much works the same way the other ones did. You can also have the numbers so that they slowly fade from one to another. The remote itself, it comes with a little book where it'll show you, what to push and what does what. See if I can get it to go through this little volley thing it does. Again. Every couple of minutes it goes through and it pulls up the date. Maybe it'll do it here in a minute. Go back to 47 minutes where it says 46. These are 4.9 tubes, I believe. There we go. Pulls up the date, and it'll display the date for a couple minutes or a couple seconds, and then the time pop back up. So yeah, all these clocks are pretty cool. Like I said, I'll give you guys the information from the sellers where I bought mine. They're not cheap. They're about they can run up to $200. Just depends on who you buy it from. Anyway, just go to eBay, do a search for Nixie clocks, and then do one for Numitron clocks. There's also one called a vacuum fluorescent display clock, which is another one I'm going to get here sometime next month or two. I've already ordered extra tubes for all three clocks just in case something happens, because I have a tendency of dropping things sometimes and it breaks. So I can just find someone that does who can do a good soldering job to have that changed out if that happens. But this one's I think this is probably the best one I like so far. See, that too is made of 5 different filaments inside there. And it's pretty much the same thing. There's a light bulb right there, and there's one right there. Those are for the seconds. I like how they flash separate from each other. You can also turn them off, or you can have them both flashing on and off at the same time. I'm still working on trying to figure out how to set this one too, so it's a work in progress. The back of it looks like this. You can see all the little circuits and stuff in there. Now, there's also some, they're listed as rotating LED clocks. They're sold by Japan. They're about 3 or 4 inches across, and they have LEDs on the outside with red or blue or green clock in the middle. They don't have the, AM PM. It's always military time. They have those kits that you can do yourself too. Like I said, they run about $12. I've tried doing those, and I've got part of them to work, but not the whole thing. I did 2 different ones, and I couldn't get either one to come on, like it's supposed to and work right. The last one I got almost perfect, except for the fact that I think there's 3 or 4 LEDs around, like for the seconds, that I couldn't get to come on. And I checked the soldering on it and everything, and I still couldn't get it to work, so I gave up on those. I bought 2 of them that were already assembled, and I'll see how that goes when I get those. Look up the vacuum fluorescent display clock on eBay too, VFD clock, or VFD Nixie clock, whatever, how you want to do it. They're all pretty cool clocks. The vacuum displays is pretty much the same thing you see on your stereos. This is a vacuum display here on the Iowa. All these have vacuum displays on them. That one down there, I've got one too. It's pretty much kind of like a neon fluorescent combination thing they got going on. But if you're interested in these, like I said, do a search on eBay, go through and look at what the different ones they have. They have the tube clocks like I've got right here. They have another size tube. It's like a round button. It's about that big around. They're about that high. And you can use those for like just a common clock like this, something you can just sit on your desk or table. But they also have the 10 digits inside too. I do recommend that if you get a Nixie clock, you get one that has the anti-cathode poisoning on it. And it's not going to hurt you. It's not a poison. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to do anything to you. It just prevents the numbers from becoming darkened spots. Kind of like a burner in an oven. After they get so old, they'll get dark spots or bright spots in there, and then it just goes out completely. But anyway, let me know what you think about this video. Anybody out there that collects these clocks or makes them? I don't know of maybe 1 or 2 people here in the U.S. that sells them. Anywhere from $150 up to $225, $255. So they're really cheaper to buy overseas. But if you have any questions about these clocks, let me know. If you know of any other types of clocks, which there are, there's another, it's similar to the fluorescent displays, but you can actually get it where it says words and stuff on it. So you got your basic, what looks like an 8, but then there's like an X also inside of it. But anyway, I want to go with that. If you have any questions about these clocks, let me know. The description or the seller information where I bought mine will be in the description below along with my email address. Just any questions or comments about these, let me know, and I'll get back to you guys as soon as I can.